Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, because the stories told here aren't ordinary stories. They're the kinds of stories people rarely admit out loud. Stories about choices, about emotions we try to hide, and about moments that change our lives forever. If you enjoy deep, emotional stories that explore love, temptation, regret, and the complicated side of human relationships, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Now let's begin. It started with a knock. Not a loud knock. Not urgent. Just a soft, gentle tap on the door. The kind of knock that doesn't demand attention, but quietly waits for it. At the time, I didn't know that something so small, so ordinary, could quietly shift the direction of my life. That morning had been uneventful. The house was still, peaceful in that strange way homes can feel when no one else is around. I had just stepped out of the shower, wrapping my robe loosely around myself, my hair still damp and falling against my shoulders. I wasn't expecting anyone, so when that knock echoed again through the hallway, I assumed it was the mailman, or maybe a neighbor dropping something off. I walked toward the door slowly, tying the belt of my robe as I moved, but when I opened the door, I was surprised. Standing there was Jake, my best friend's son, 19 years old now. Though the last time I had seen him properly, he had still been a boy running through our backyards during summer visits. But the young man standing in front of me that morning was very different. He was taller now, broad-shouldered, his dark curls slightly messy from the summer heat. A white tank top clung lightly to his frame, and the sunlight behind him gave everything a warm glow. He smiled the moment he saw me. "Hello, Miss Naomi," he said politely, lifting a small cardboard box in his hand. "My mom asked me to bring this over." For a moment, I simply blinked. Then I laughed softly. "Jake, my goodness, it feels like ages since I've seen you." He handed me the package. As he did, I noticed the faint scent of soap and fresh air around him, the kind that lingers after someone has been outside in the sun. "I've been busy with school," he explained, "but my mom said this was important." "Well," I said, stepping aside, "you'd better come in then. At least let me give you something to drink." He hesitated slightly. "Are you sure?" "Of course." And just like that, he stepped inside. There was something different about Jake now, something I hadn't noticed when he was younger. Confidence, perhaps. He moved easily through the room, relaxed but respectful, glancing around the familiar house like he was remembering pieces of childhood. I walked into the kitchen and poured 2 glasses of lemonade. When I handed one to him, our fingers brushed briefly. It was only a second, but I felt it. A strange flicker of awareness I hadn't expected. Jake smiled again. "You look great, Miss Naomi," he said casually. I laughed awkwardly. "Oh, please don't start flattering me. I'm serious." His voice was deeper than I remembered, and for a brief moment, the words hung in the air between us. Uncertain. Unexpected. I cleared my throat and gestured toward the living room. "So, how is school going?" He shrugged. "It's all right. But honestly, I prefer doing things with my hands. Fixing things. Building things." That comment sparked a thought in my mind. It seemed innocent enough at first. "My shower has been acting strange lately," I said casually. "The water pressure keeps dropping." Jake immediately sat forward. "Really? Would you mind taking a quick look?" He smiled. "Sure. If you want." We walked toward the bathroom together. As we did, I became strangely aware of the quiet in the house. The soft sound of our footsteps. The faint hum of the ceiling fan. Jake knelt beside the bathtub, examining the faucet and pipes with focused attention. "There might be a small leak here," he said after a moment. "Probably just a worn washer." "Is that easy to fix?" I asked. "Yeah. I'd just need to grab a replacement from the hardware store." I crouched down beside him to see what he was pointing at. Our shoulders brushed slightly. It was nothing. An accident. But when I glanced toward him, I noticed something different. He was looking at me. Not rudely. Not disrespectfully. Just looking. Our faces were closer than either of us expected. For a moment neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. The silence stretched longer than it should have. And in that silence, something shifted. Something neither of us acknowledged out loud. Eventually I stood up and cleared my throat. Thank you for checking. Jake nodded slowly. I can come back tomorrow with the part. I agreed. But after he left that afternoon, I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. The next day passed slowly. I told myself it was ridiculous to think about Jake the way I had. He was young, my best friend's son, just a visitor helping with a simple repair. Nothing more. But when the knock came again the following afternoon, my heart reacted before my mind could. When I opened the door, Jake was standing there again, this time holding a small brown hardware bag. I brought the washer, he said with a grin. I stepped aside to let him in, and as he walked past me, I realized something strange. The house suddenly felt less empty. The repair didn't take long, but Jake lingered afterward. We ended up talking in the kitchen while preparing a simple meal together. It started with small things: school, work, life. But slowly the conversation deepened. He asked thoughtful questions. He listened carefully. And something about that attention made me feel seen. For years my life had revolved around responsibilities, work, family, routine. But Jake spoke to me as if I was more than that. As if I was still the woman I used to be before life became predictable. And that feeling was powerful. Dangerously powerful. Over the next few days, Jake visited a few more times. At first it was always for practical reasons. Finishing the repair. Helping move a shelf. Fixing a cabinet linge. But each visit seemed to last a little longer. Each conversation grew a little deeper. Until eventually we both realized something neither of us had planned. There was a connection between us. Unexpected, complicated, and impossible to ignore. But reality has a way of catching up with emotions. One evening, after Jake left, I stood alone in the kitchen staring at my phone. Because the truth was unavoidable. Jake wasn't just a young man helping around the house. He was my best friend's son. And no matter how genuine the feelings might seem, some boundaries exist for a reason. When his message arrived later that night, I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed a response. A simple one. Sometimes caring about someone means stepping away before things become impossible to fix. I never saw Jake again after that summer. But sometimes, on quiet evenings, I remember that unexpected knock on the door. The moment everything could have changed. And I remind myself that life isn't always about the paths we take. Sometimes it's about the ones we choose not to.